You're live.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to City Parks and Community Services Commission meeting of September 9th, 2020. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Item number 2, roll call. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Prior to roll call, I would like to make clear for the record of this meeting, and it should be reflected in the minutes, that the governor has issued 2 executive orders relaxing the requirements pertaining to remote meetings under the Brown Act. The procedures adopted for this meeting have been established to meet or exceed the standards set forth in the order. For more information, please refer to Governor Gavin Newsom's Executive Order N-29-20. I will now take roll, after which I will confirm certain matters for the record. Commissioner Dorlick?
Present.
Commissioner Kensington Lee?
Here.
Commissioner Birnbaum?
Present.
Commissioner Osland?
Present.
Commissioner Roberts?
Present.
Student Commissioner Ramesh?
Present.
Vice Chair Lopez Lucy?
Present.
Chair Veros?
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 3, Pledge of Allegiance.
Chair Veros, we just need to ask 3 questions.
Oh, sorry. Please go ahead.
I have 3 questions for the committee members. I'll ask all 3 questions, and if the answer is yes to all 3 questions, please say yes and raise your hand. Question 1, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Question 2, have you been able to hear all previous speakers, including the roll call, clearly?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Question 3, are you satisfied based on facial or voice recognition or otherwise that everyone here representing themselves to be a committee member is actually the person they are representing themselves to be?
Yes.
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 Thank you. The record should reflect that I have received affirmative answers from each committee member present to all 3 questions. And finally, I would like to advise the committee that any votes taken during this meeting must be taken by roll call. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we are going to item number 3, Pledge of Allegiance. Vice Chair Lucy Lopez, please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. With that, we're going to item number 4, special announcements. 4.1, changes and additions to the agenda.
We do not have any changes or additions.
Thank you. With that, item number 4.2, if you wish to speak under public comment or regarding an agenda item, please click the raise your hand button on your computer or *9 on your telephone to request to speak when public comment is being taken on the agenda item.
Hi.
You will then, yeah.
I did have some special items or announcements that we needed to make this evening.
Okay, so in this 4.2, I have this whole entry, so that's why I'm just speaking about that.
Sorry, go ahead.
So you'll, I'll just continue that. You will then be unmuted when it is your turn to make your comment for up to 3 minutes. After the allotted time, you will then be remuted. With that, I'm going to the next item, 4.3. Kathy, please, any special announcements?
All right, sorry about that. So I wanted to give you an update on a few different items. One, you probably noticed that we did not produce a fall activities guide this year. And that is because with the pandemic, it was very difficult for us to forecast what we could and could not do. So we actually elected to go all online so we could adapt as the situation warrants. So if you have a chance, I would really suggest you go on to the website and click through to see some of the really creative virtual classes that we were able to offer, as well as some really fun new in-person classes. So for example, Dancing Outside with Miss Christie is a new offering this year that I'm sure is going to be quite popular once her regular students see that she's actually going to be able to teach some dance. So make time to go check that out. I also wanted to make sure that you were aware, in case you get questions that the Parks and Community Services Department does have an air quality policy. And when the air quality, the AQI hits 100, all of our in-house programs are immediately moved indoors if possible or canceled. And when it reaches 150, where it's at this really unhealthy kind of gray, ugly color we have outside, that actually triggers closures of our pools, and we stop our temporary staff monitoring the fields. The reason for that is we can't have staff outside in the bad air for a prolonged period of time working. So if you get questions, people say, why is the pool closed? It's because of the air quality and because we can't put the temporary staff out there. And then I have sad news that this is probably breaking news, but sadly, Easy to Hike is going out of business. So right after we got everyone going and using our Easy to Hike app, they're going out of business as of October 15th. And on the heels of that news, we heard that Savo, which is our ticketing software, is going out of business as of December 31st. So staff is working quickly to identify alternatives so that we can have uninterrupted service for our residents. There is another really good hiking app called Interspatial, very similar to Easy to Hike. So we may be able to make a really quick and easy flip, but I wanted you to know that because you're going to be hearing about that as we move through this. These are all their all casualties of the economy and the pandemic. They're just not able to make ends meet, so they're both dissolving. And then finally, the last thing I needed to ask you all to do was to please check your calendars and hold the date of Wednesday, September 23rd at 7 p.m. for a possible meeting. If that's not a date you can do, I need to know pretty much immediately, if possible. And we're looking towards having a City Walk Park credit discussion with the commission. And so I just really need you all to hold that date, and then I will let you know whether or not that will actually come together. Does anybody know if they have a conflict right off the gate, September 23rd, 7 p.m.?
Kathy, I will be down in San Diego getting my little guy settled at UCSD, but I can call in if that turns out to be the right date. I can make it happen.
Okay.
But if you find others have a conflict, then I wouldn't argue.
All right. Thank you. Those are all the items of announcements that I have for you this evening.
Kathy, how much time should we allocate?
I don't know. It would probably be at least an hour, maybe two. I would assume probably more like an
Okay.
hour and a half.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Welcome.
Let's go to the next item, 4.4, temporary employee of the month of August. This should be August 2020. Alexandra Hannin, presented by Recreation Supervisor Andrew Hubbard.
Hello, good evening, commissioners. Looks like we have Alex on the screen. So yeah, it's my pleasure to introduce Alexandra Hannin, also known as Alex, as she is our Parks and Community Services Department temporary employee of the month for the month of August. Alex just finished up her second summer as a lifeguard. She began working for us at the Aquatics Division in May of 2019. She typically works at the San Ramon Olympic Pool pretty much all year. Alex's current responsibilities include ensuring patron safety, providing customer service during lap swim and user group rentals. She is a reliable employee who always goes the extra mile and completes her tasks ahead of schedule and maintains a positive attitude throughout everything. And I also have to mention that Alex is a twin sister, Ari. I think she's in the background of the screen there. I know they like to joke that Alex is the older twin, but between the two of them, there always seems to be a Hannin on duty helping out with whatever is needed at the pool, which is really awesome, and we certainly appreciate that. Alex really demonstrated going the extra mile recently and showed great compassion for a community member in need of help. After her shift at the San Ramon Olympic Pool, she witnessed a tennis player who was experiencing heat exhaustion at the tennis courts at California High School. She quickly went into action and notified the staff on duty, grabbed ice, and provided care to the tennis player. She even remained with the tennis player until the player started to feel better. And she was even running late for her own appointment. So that was really a demonstration of her going the extra mile, and really awesome that she did that. She did a great job using her life skills, not only while on duty, but also taking action outside of the facility when a community member needed her help. Alex is currently a junior at California High School. We are excited that she plans to continue working for the city of San Ramon aquatics program through the off season and hopefully for future summers as well. And ultimately, the Parks and Community Services Department would like to take this opportunity to thank Alex for her dedicated contributions to the department and to the city of San Ramon. Thank you, Alex. Congratulations.
Hey.
Alex,
Do you want to say a couple words, Alex?
Sure. I'm just really lucky to be working with such amazing people, and I'm so happy we moved here. Yep.
thank you, Alex, for your dedicated contribution to city in this, especially in these unprecedented times with so much negative situations going on. We really need people like you who provide us a positive side within the community. We really appreciate your willingness to go extra mile and great compassion to help our communities with your great services. Thank you very much. Okay. Next, moving to the item 5, public comment or written communication. At this time, those in the audience are encouraged to address the Parks and Community Services Commission on any item not already included in tonight's agenda. Members of the public who are participating via Zoom will have the opportunity to make comments to the Parks and Community Services Commission live through the Zoom application. Comments should not exceed 3 minutes. Comments from the public under public comment may also be submitted by email to ctoman@sanramon.ca.gov. No commission action can be taken at this meeting on issues raised during public comment, whether submitted by email or Zoom. Written public comment emails must be submitted to the Parks and Community Services Department prior to the commencement of the meeting. Reading of the public comment emails into the record by recording secretary will be limited in duration to 3 minutes each. Madam Clerk, any public comments, please?
No, we do not have any.
Thank you. Then we go ahead and close the public comment. With that, I'm going to item 6, approval of minutes. 6.1, item 6.1, Parks and Community Services Commission regular meeting, August 12, 2020, 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Doesn't matter.
Thank you. Any discussion? Nope. So,
Okay,
Madam
we will
Clerk,
take roll call. Commissioner Dorlick,
Yes.
Commissioner Kensington Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Birnbaum,
Aye.
Commissioner Oslin,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lopez Lucy,
Aye.
Chair Veros.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we move to item 7, consent calendar. Consent calendar items are considered routine and are acted upon by the Parks and Community Services with a single action. Members of the audience wishing to provide public input may request that Commission remove the item from the consent calendar. Madam Clerk, any consent calendar?
No, we do not.
Thank you. With that, we are moving to item 8, Commission business. Item 8.1, Summer Camp 2020 review presented by Andrew Mendes, Recreation Coordinator. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. One moment. It looks like the host needs to give me permission to do that.
Okay.
Try it again.
All right. Perfect. Thank you, Christy.
Christina will be giving you the.
All right, fantastic. So good evening, commissioners. My name is Andrew Mendez, and I am a recreation coordinator here with the city of San Ramon. And this is my second summer now working with the camps here in San Ramon. I'm no stranger to recreation. This is actually going to be my 15th full-time capacity year working in Parks and Recreation. So let's talk a little bit about Summer Camp 2020. And I want to start off by kind of addressing the elephant in the room. We hosted a camp amidst the pandemic. So we did have quite a few things that were kind of obstacles that were in our way that we had to meet head on. And the first one was we had large groups that were prohibited by the county regulations and minimized down to groups of a maximum of 12 participants per camp. These same groups of 12 had to have the same stable staff members as well in that group, and the groups of campers could never mix with one another. Social distancing was enforced at the programs, including in our facilities, indoors and outdoors. Masks were required for all campers, staff, and contractors. Masks could be removed for things like running around or eating, but we did have to wear those when not doing either of those two items. Shared equipment was also something that we had to limit, and we had to get a little bit creative. So instead of a bucket with all the crayons and markers, instead we made individual kits for each of the campers. Staff trainings are usually a fun way to kick off camp and get all of the new staff involved and give everyone their fun nickname, candy names, and things like that. Unfortunately, we had to do those over Zoom, so that did present a bit of a challenge as well. Smile through your mask was our motto, and making sure that the staff knew how to exemplify their attitude through their tone and through their body language, and really portraying how they felt, and getting those kiddos energetic even through wearing a mask. We were able to do that well though, and I feel like although when life gives you lemons, our staff rose to the occasion, and you know, we feel that we did a pretty good job with all of the different factors that were presented to us. So Camp Central, that model was completely redesigned due to COVID-19 recommendations. Camp Central not only was decentralized throughout the city, but limited to 2 camps per facility with a dedicated room and entrance for the entire session. The Parks and Community Services staff conducted daily health checks at the camps. Staff worked tirelessly late into spring to ensure Camp Central transitioned into a COVID-friendly camp. A key example of this could be seen at our Adventure Club, which typically would run from 1 to 4 and host over 40 campers each week. Instead, we transformed that into a 2-week, all day, 8:30 to 5 o'clock camp with a maximum of 12 participants per group. And you can see some of the photos here of our health checks and of our staff getting those campers in and meeting all those COVID requirements. Policies and procedures were posted on our website, emailed to parents prior to camp, and also a printed copy handed to them when they dropped off on the first day. The facilities team and camp team worked well together to ensure high touch points were always cleaned. So things like door handles, light switches, restrooms, countertops, things like that. Hand washing was always encouraged amongst staff and the campers. And if that wasn't available, hand sanitizer was. Our big highlight, though, that we found through COVID was through KidCheck. And KidCheck is an app that you can use for check-in and check-out of campers. This automated system was very simple. Parents just downloaded an app onto their smartphone and can control signing in and out with ease. We implemented this in hand with our camper carpool system. And you can see there, we have a few of our camp staff going through the KidCheck there on their iPads as the parents came through in their cars. One thing that I really liked about our KidCheck system was, and we discovered it on, I think, the 2nd or 3rd day, it was your birthday. The camper's name tag that printed out would say happy birthday and have a birthday cake on it as well. So I made it just an extra little touch that it gave us a smile amidst all the different things going on. The most impressive, though, thing I think that we can take away from it was we put a camper survey out, or excuse me, a camp family survey out at the end of summer, and of the 115 responses we received back, We had asked parents to rate their satisfaction with camp on a scale of 1 to 5. And the average score from all of those was 4.86. So not perfect, but of course, a very high score, averaging amongst those 115 surveys. Here's a camp overview of Camp 2020. As you can see, we have about 764 campers that joined us this summer throughout 122 camps that were offered. So you might be asking yourself, why are those numbers a little bit lower than 2019? So I just wanted to set the table with a few things. Obviously, the biggest one was the low demand because of the COVID-19 concerns. Our facilities, some of the rooms were not large enough to even accommodate 12 students with the safe 6 feet social distancing. Some of our contractors also, with only 12 students, weren't able to offer their programs with such a small number of campers coming in. So that hindered us a little bit from offering certain programs. And then lastly, of course, some programs, especially high contact sport type programs, weren't able to be offered because of social distancing as well. So a good example of a way we were able to pivot this summer, we had our annual Party in the Park event planned, and that's usually held here at Central Park. Families can come out and meet the contractors at different booths throughout the park, get to know them before signing up for the camp. And it's a great way just to really have a great community event, meet the camp staff. But that was scheduled to happen on March 14th, which was just about when COVID was hitting. We quickly pivoted and took the event online. We were able to still offer it on the 14th. And the event was still able to include a lot of very fun things. One of them, we transitioned that meeting. Instead of doing it in person, we had bios written on the website and created YouTube videos that the camp instructors would put up there to talk about their camps and to introduce themselves to parents. In addition to that, we did a click down memory lane so they could click through old camp photos, kind of see how things had gone in the past, and really remember a lot of the fun times that they've had here in the past summers. Also different activities for your preschooler all the way through teenagers. And of course, the most popular thing is the 10% discount that we do offer if you sign up within a month from that program, of the Party in the Park program. One thing that we did find that was very popular was this event virtually. We had a lot of parents ask us to do it a second time. And we actually offered it a second time in the spring, and that was on April the 13th. And you can see there in the first blue square, first time we hosted it, we had 194 folks visit our page during that event. And on the 13th, 66 page views. So Adventure Club, we talked about that a moment ago, but this is our Adventure Club program. Adventure Club is typically 1 week, half-day traditional day camp. However, to better serve the community, we did transform it into a full-day camp for working families. We were able to get 105 campers to join us this summer, and that was hosted with 4 2-week blocks and a one-week block for the end of summer. 105 might not seem like too many, but in the grand scheme of it, we're at 92% of capacity. So we were pretty full almost all summer long. Again, that maximum of 12 really comes into play when we're taking registration and things like that. Our enrichment camps are always very popular. We were still able to get a few of these to go this summer as well. We offered a total of 16 enrichment camps this summer, with 98 participants joining throughout the entire summer. There you can see some pictures of the kiddos in one of our popular Lego engineering camps. We also listed here on the slide a handful of other really popular enrichment camps that we were able to offer this summer as well. One of the things that's very important to note about the enrichment camps was the campers and instructors needed to wear masks. We performed a health check before each day before they came into the building. And the buildings were actually closed to the public. The only people allowed inside were staff, contractors, and of course the campers. So sports camps. Sports camps utilize Central Park and the Iron Horse Community Gymnasium. The Crazy for Sports was our most popular camp this summer. Camp this summer was featured with fun games that had Olympic themes to them. We have our always popular water day. This year, we even incorporated in an alternative touchless dunk tank. So that was really neat. We have some photos of that coming up here soon as well. But we tried to make it as fun as we could for the kids. We found some great social distancing type games. One was a laser maze. So you use yarn as lasers and they had to kind of crawl through the laser maze and solve different problems and things like that as a team, but still keeping that social distance aspect. So that was a really popular camp, was our Crazy for Sports. Our contract instructors were extremely flexible and willing to work within our new framework. We were able to provide camps for sports such as soccer, basketball, snag golf, scooter, multi-sports, volleyball, and much more. The contractors did a great job providing these opportunities for play for the children throughout our community. And we're proud to say that at our sports camps, we had 455 participants throughout the entire summer. Originally, we had 50 camps planned, but we're able to add an additional 7 due to the popularity. So a little bit more about sports camps. The sports camps are typically offered in the mornings and afternoons and include a wide array of sports that include contact play. So this summer, there was more planning and thought that was needed to go into safely providing these sports. Contact play was discouraged. Instead, focus was placed on individual skill development at contact camps. Activities were encouraged to be socially distant and limit the use of shared equipment. Modifications were made to traditional camps during games, drills, and just about everything that we did. Many of the sports camps offered curbside check-in and pickup. Our basketball camps even conducted check-in and check-out from the front of the gymnasium, where the lines were marked down with tape on the ground to ensure social distancing. We even set up wash stations that were for the outdoor camps to reduce the trips to the bathroom and encourage frequent hand washing. Bathroom times were coordinated and marked with separate entrances into each camp, and equipment for camp was stored in different locations. So our performing arts camp, we did have 4 of these camps that were able to run. They were all dance camps. We were able to utilize facilities like the El Costa Senior and Community Center and the Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center. Unfortunately, this year, our most popular camp is the Bay Area Children's Theater. We weren't able to bring them on board due to the social distancing regulations that we didn't think would be able to be followed with something like this program. So we hope to get them back again next year. Visual arts. We were able to offer 2 different camps this summer. Parents tended to gravitate more towards the outdoor camps we saw, which is why this participation was a bit low. We did have 17 participants join our visual arts camps, and they enjoyed things like video game design and anime cartooning, and those were located at our Senior and Community Center. The Leaders in Training Group. So this was one program that we really wanted to make sure we could get going this summer. It's such an important feeder into our staffing for future years. We were able to get 8 leaders in training on board, and they were able to contribute about approximately 300 hours of support, which is so valuable to the staff. Such a great role model for the younger campers who might want to be camp counselors one day. So it was great to have them on board. And 25% of our camp staff were actually previous LITs. So again, that great feeder system that we wanted to keep going, from summer to summer. Our teen camps. So the department offered the traditional in-person teen center camp at Pine Valley this summer. However, the registration was very low and we were unable to meet minimum participation numbers. It's a very challenging age because many times teens can stay home once they reach a certain age. We did transition the teens to enrichment camps virtually and did things like a BattleBots camp, a Becoming a Confident Speaker, and TED Talk style virtual camps as well. So again, just trying to really pivot and still offering them something. If they did stay home, they would have something virtually to do with us still. And our inclusion services, we made sure to offer this again this summer like we do always. And this is, for those who don't know, our inclusion services, it encompasses the accommodations that we make for participants with various disabilities and considerations for participants with life-threatening medical conditions so that they're able to participate as independently as possible in our programs. We were able to accommodate 10 different participants through 22 of our different programs this summer at camp. And there's a really great quote here at the bottom of the slide from one of our parents. So in summary, I think one of the big things I wanted to point out is just none of this would have been possible without our camp staff. They do such a great job. And as much as we pivoted, they had to pivot just as much, if not more, being out there with the kiddos every day. We actually started by hiring 78 staff and then had to, of course, as COVID had hit, we downsized down to 48. Of course, we had the 8 leaders in training and then 2 dedicated staff for the inclusion support program. One other thing I really wanted to point out too is with our facilities and public works team, they really helped us quite a bit, keeping things clean, keeping things organized. So big shout out to them for all of their hard work and dedication this summer as well. So looking ahead to 2021, I promised you a picture of that dunk tank. There it is there at the very bottom, the touchless one. The kids really got a kick out of that. Looking ahead though, we really want to continue using that kid check system that we had discussed earlier. It was such a great system. The parents loved it. It was efficient. We're hoping to minimize lines for 2021. Whether it's carpool lines or whether it's walking up in person, we think it's a great tool. Enhancements to Adventure Club and Crazy for Sports, kind of drawing on these new experiences that we may have never had before and trying to take the positives from them. And then of course, we just want to strive to really get that enrollment back up to where it's been before. That's one of our big goals as well. Was there any questions?
Thank you for presentation, Andrew. Thank you very much. I don't see any raised hands from the attendees. From the attendees, I don't see any raised hands. So
Whoop, here I am. Where am I?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No. So with that, let me open for commissioners for the comments. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'll start. Thanks so much for the presentation. Question, as we continue to evolve from a planning situation, are the plans for next year, you're talking about looking ahead to 2021, are you looking at an option for parents if there is still an issue regarding, social distancing, wearing masks, et cetera, just as there might be options for school? Are we looking at providing options for summer camp participation?
And that's a great question. And we're, right now in fall, we're actually offering quite a bit of virtual programming and really learning quite a bit through those experiences that we're having this fall with virtual programming. So I think that right now it's a little too far out to forecast if we were going to do something like that. But I know that we're continuing to learn through the fall programs that we're offering. We did offer some during summer as well, and really staying on the forefront of it by joining Zoom calls with other cities, finding out what they're doing, making sure that we know, all of that information so that when that particular situation might arise, that we could be ready for it. I think right now we haven't started any planning for that particular situation just yet, but we are learning a lot each day.
Okay, because I know some large employees and the employers in the Bay Area are looking at a June 2021 kind of decision point as far as, when to open offices, et cetera, things like that. So they're looking at that, and that's, when do the camps start?
Well, we start planning probably right when this one ends. We start kind of getting our so camp the beginning of June.
Yeah, with the way the school ends. So, that really kind of overlaps where we're seeing some large employers still looking at that as a decision point. So, all right, I appreciate that. So we're kind of looking at a mix and perhaps not leaving it up to the parents, but at least offering an option if there still are concerns. Great, thank you.
Commissioner Stanley, please.
Okay, well, I just want to say a couple of things. Number one, how very proud everybody must be and how proud I am that you guys got through that season without, I'm going to knock on wood, without an instance of COVID-19. I'm sure I would be echoed by all of my fellow commissioners on that. So that's awesome. And a 4.86 rating, satisfaction rating, that's pretty darn good. That's pretty darn good. And then also 115 responses out of 764 campers. That's not too shabby either. All of us who've ever done surveys know it's like pulling teeth to get that kind of feedback. So I think that was amazing. I'm impressed with the quick pivot. Obviously, Kathy has set a tone for responsive and adaptive programming, that her team got the call to action and that you guys have done that. So I think that's amazing. I'm really, really impressed. I did have 2 questions. One is, I'm curious about mask monitoring. How many kids ended up bringing their own masks, and how many did you have to find you constantly had to remind to put your mask on? I think it'll be helpful as we do future programming to know. And how many masks did we have to supplement? That's my first question.
So I think the big piece is we actually were able to start the summer with, of course, staff and instructors wearing masks, but the campers did not. And about 2 weeks in, that's when things started really changing and involving with everyone needs to wear a mask. I think it was a learning curve in the first few days, but after that, parents were sending their campers with a mask. They were coming in. The younger they are, though, the second part of your question, the younger they are, the more it's okay. It has to cover your nose too, and you got to keep it on, not just hanging from your ear. And you know, as cute as it is with the real little ones, it's just the constant reminders. And we actually did some great stuff. The CDC has great cartoon type photos and flyers that we posted in the restroom of washing your hands, wearing your masks. We had those out at camp also. And I think that having that constant reminder for them in a fun way, and then also the staff constantly reminding them as well, is very helpful. I think that we didn't have to supplement too many masks. I think parents really understood what was going on. Although we did have extras in our health bins every morning, I would say by about the second week of it, families understood the routine. And I think it was also attributed to, we had the rules posted online. We sent them to you prior to camp. The first day in the camper carpool, you got it handed to you too. You know, I think we did a good job getting that info out. So not too much issue surrounding mask wearing.
Commissioner Stanley, you're on mute.
Sorry, I thought I had unmuted myself. It wouldn't be a meeting unless one of us do it. And first, please excuse the dog in the background. I'm trying to mute myself as much as I can. But the second question is with regard to communicating with parents during camp. I know, having run several units of Diablo Day Camp, Girl Scout Day Camp, you know, sometimes the parents really appreciate those nightly emails from leaders saying, here's how it's gone, here's some reminders. I'm curious if we do that with our parents, have that level of email communication. So can you answer that one for me, please?
Yes, so we typically start out, and I'll kind of start from going kind of in a timeline here. The Thursday before camp begins, we send out a letter to all of our families, letting them know what's up next. And in the past, it's been kind of just an email with a link to, you know, what you need to bring to camp each day. But this summer, we even took it an extra step for that first letter. We had an entire one-pager just kind of on what to bring to camp, what the parents need to bring. So making sure that they need to wear a mask if they're coming in and coming through the drive-through, what the campers needed to bring, whether it was their mask, water, camp-specific items, because each camp is a little bit different. And then from there, what we would do is that first day, we handed them, again, more information. And then towards the end of the week, we actually take pictures. We post them on a site called SmugMug that the families can check out, which is really great. That is something we could look into to even go further than that though. But I think that the communication seemed fairly strong. I think the parents did enjoy the amount of info that we did give to them. I know a lot of times on that first day I think we got that already. But you know, I totally agree with you. I have 2 kids myself, and the more info you can get throughout the week, the easier it is to have that conversation at the table of, what did you do today? What happened at camp today? A lot of times it's easier than pulling teeth. So
Yeah,
I agree.
thank you.
That's something that we might be able to add a little bit more to.
Okay, thank you. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Commissioner Bonbon.
Well, Andrew, first and foremost, fabulous job. You know, I think, you know, we all know that Kathy runs a great group of folks that are very adaptable, and you guys just demonstrated it, you know, to the highest degree with the way you guys were able to pivot. I also agree with Commissioner Kensington Lee about, you know, congratulations, making it through the summer, having everybody stay healthy. That is a major accomplishment. We know that keeping people healthy is a challenge, and quite frankly, keeping kids of that age healthy is an even bigger challenge. So great job there. I also think that out of this, we'll have learned a lot of great ideas that we can take forward, hopefully when we're out of this pandemic, moving forward with new programs into you know, new years, where many of these ideas and programs may have a lot of validity going forward. So great job. And you know, I think you guys made the city proud with what you were able to do. And you probably made a lot of parents a lot happier by getting their kids out and letting them have some really enjoyable time. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, Vice Chair Lopez Lucy, please go ahead.
Well, I just want to thank everybody as Commissioner Kensington Lee and Mr. Beerbaum said. I think we've just done a wonderful job, and it just amazes me of the staff that can think of all these innovative ideas that you put into action. And it really takes a lot of, you know, putting your heads together and filling it out. So I think, yes, Kathy is our great leader. We know that. We're very proud of her, but I think she has an excellent team to pull this off. And so I just want to reiterate that I'm so thankful and so proud that we have such innovative staff and great staff, and that we can be very proud of our Parks and Community Services, that we do such a fantastic job. So thank you, well done. And your report was great.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, with that, Commissioner Osland.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. Your presentation was awesome. And I was just really engaged with everything that you were talking about, and just all your examples. And some words that I wrote down were just how innovative you guys were, how creative, flexible, and how you partnered with the other, you know, with facilities and with public works to kind of really pull this off. So, you know, congratulations. This was not an easy feat. And, you know, it's just like the other commissioners have said, this really made a really great summer for a lot of parents and for a lot of kids. So thank you. And I know it wasn't easy, but everyone I know got a lot out of it. So my only question is, it's not really a technical question, but what are some of those candy names that are chosen?
I'll start with mine. I'm Skittles. So this summer when I started out, I bought a pair of those socks. It's the Skittles wrappers. And so I'd wear them on Mondays, usually on the first day for new camps, and the kids get a kick out of them. But they're anything you could think of, from Reese's to Snickers to any type of candy. And it sets the tone, which is really cool.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Skittles.
And Commissioner Roberts.
Thank you, Chair Veros. Yeah, two things. First, I appreciate, or actually I should say the community appreciates these opportunities being inclusive, not just for special needs, but for those who stayed home. And I think that you guys were able to actually provide this for those kids at home. It really says a lot about our community. And second, there's a saying, don't let a good crisis go to waste. And I think that Kathy and the team really took this saying to another level. Not only did the department end up with more efficient processes and procedures for future camps, right? But I think that what you guys were also able to do is with these smaller groups, I think that sort of led to a more intimate experience and one-on-one attention, which is what we learned about. So I think that that's fantastic. And of course, obviously all of this, like everyone had mentioned, really sums up that the reason for the high rating, the 4.9 essentially out of 5 rating out of 115 surveyed. I just don't think that the community could have asked for something better, or at least a better response to this pandemic, that we're going through. So great job on that. And if I had one question, I'd ask, is there a sign-up sheet for an adult version of the adventure camp?
Not at this time.
Not at this time. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks, commissioners. Thank you, Andrew, for excellent presentation, and congratulations, Kathy, for great programs for the community. I really go with all my commissioners, especially about the adapting part. This is like once again unprecedented times, and staff could able to switch to virtual meetings and then make all these different programs successfully. This is what about the quality of services that we provide in San Ramon, and we are very proud of your team and all your accomplishments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I do have to say, you can see Jen Galt's name is there. She's hiding behind that, as well as Adam and our entire staff really pulled together on this one. So it was an entire team effort to pull off the summer programs and all the different facilities. And so I am very proud of what we have achieved. And I thank you so much for your compliments, and we'll make sure to pass those on to everyone so they know how much you appreciate what they did this summer.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, with that, we are going to item 8.2, Poet Laureate recommendation presented by Recreation Supervisor Adam Shaw.
Good evening. I'm here to present the recommendation for the next Poet Laureate. It is recommended by the Poet Laureate Selection Committee that the Commission recommend to the City Council Jenith Jo Gearhart Urchin to serve as a Poet Laureate for a term expiring September 2022. The Poet Laureate is selected to serve as a public advocate for the appreciation and advancement of the literary arts, particularly poetry in the city of San Ramon. The Poet Laureate is a 2-year position with the previous term expiring. We advertised the Poet Laureate opening on social media, including Facebook, Twitter, and Nextdoor. We also sent emails to the residents and contacted applicants from past years to reapply. We received 2 applications, and both were highly qualified. Both applicants were interviewed on August 25th by the Poet Laureate Selection Committee, consisting of 2 Parks Commissioners, Commissioner Dorlick and Commissioner Keniston Lee, and an Arts Advisory Committee member, Patrick Gutierrez. The Selection Committee thought both candidates were well qualified and had a passion for poetry in the community. The committee felt that Jenith Jo Gearhart Urchin had stronger ties with youth in the community through her work with the schools and several prospective projects that would significantly benefit the community in the coming years. With that, I will turn it back to you, Chair Veros, and the Selection Committee members may have something to add.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, anybody for public comment?
No, we have no public comment.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I'll open I'll close the public comment and open questions to Adam. Commissioners, please go ahead. And I see one hand. Commissioner Dorlick, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I just want to comment that it was a good session with the interviews. But I think that far and away that the selection was for Ms. Gerhard Utchen was based upon the fact that she's been widely published, that she has many programs that involve youth and also other communities in the literary arts, and that her poetry is just extraordinary. There's a depth to it. There is a depth of feeling, of observation, and of artistry. So I highly agree with the recommendation to be passed on to the City Council.
Commissioner Kinnison Lee?
Yes, so I would agree that both candidates were great. I do feel that there were several strong differentiators for the candidates. With Jenith, I liked the depth of her experience in poetry was very prominent. She had a positive orientation toward her poetry that she wanted to continue to bring to the city. I like the idea of giving her, as we know, those of us who have joined the commission, sometimes it takes a little while to get, to get up to speed. I feel like in many ways she's hit the ground running, but I feel like I'd like to give her those 2 extra years to continue with some poetry related initiatives. One of the items she mentioned was the DocuPoem project, which I recall is tying imagery with powerful poetry. So I feel like I'd like to see that continuity, and I'd like to see her have that opportunity to realize some of these poet laureate visions, if you will. And I was impressed with the connection to school district, because I feel like, in our master plan, we talk a lot about partnerships. We talk about leveraging those relationships to promote our programming. And I feel like that close relationship and knowledge of the school district that she has will very much benefit her effectiveness these next few years with that position. Also, as we know, it's always important to mention of talking about inclusion when we talk about any expressions, artistic expressions that we have in our community. I like that she mentioned that as well. I would like to mention the other candidate, very impressive. She obviously is somebody we know is very devoted to our community. Would love to see her engaged in our community. But I do feel moving forward, I'm very confident in the decision that the committee made, and would recommend moving forward if we can. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any more hands up. So let's go for the motion.
I move that we accept the subcommittee's recommendation to approve the poet laureate and make that recommendation to the City Council.
Okay.
Thank you. So moved and second. Any further discussion? Okay, none. Madam Clerk, please vote.
Commissioner Dorlick,
Yes.
Commissioner Kensington Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Birnbaum,
Aye.
Commissioner Osland,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lopez Lucy,
Aye.
Chair Veros.
Aye.
Thank you.
Excellent. With that, we are going to item 8.3, San Ramon Parks, Trails, Open Space, and Recreation Master Plan Priorities Review, presented by our Parks Director, Kathy Hammond.
I fell victim to the mute button on myself. All right, thank you so much. So let me just start by saying our master plan is complete. This was big and exciting news last June, but the plan is only useful if we use it to help guide decision-making and planning. So this evening, staff is looking for feedback on potential CIP projects that are identified in the plan as a high priority in both the ongoing and the 0 to 5 year categories. So just as a little background, the plan clarifies the vision of the community for the next 10 years as it relates to parks, trails, open space, and recreation. And it really pulled out, if you remember on that one page, it has the little pictures, it identifies the top 10 priorities as shade and seating along the Iron Horse Trail, paved walking loops in parks, preserving open space, biking and walking path connections, unpaved loop trails in open space, cricket pitch, Iron Horse overcrossing at Bollinger Canyon Road, lighted basketball court, facility renovations for our aging facilities, and nature-based play equipment. It further, if you dig in, goes into 94 very specific recommendations that are destined or hope to be achieved over the next 10 plus years. The plan divides the recommendations into ongoing, low, medium, and high priority, and identifies a time frame of 0 to 5 years, 6 to 10 years, or 11 to 20 years for completion. So when you break that all the way down, there are actually 32 items that are identified as a high priority and located in the ongoing and 0 to 5 year categories. So staff went ahead and reviewed those 32 recommendations and actually removed 23 recommendations that do not rely on CIP funds to implement, are already either planned for in the next fiscal year CIP, or are located in a park that will be developed within the next 1 to 3 years paid for by a developer. So there's still valid plans, there's still valid things to do. It's just that we've already figured out a way to accomplish a good number of them. So that's great. What we have left are the remaining 9 recommendations that do not have a funding source identified at this point in time. So those 9 items are increasing shade along the Iron Horse Trail with trees or large shade structures, increasing seating opportunities along the Iron Horse Trail, developing a looped trail system in open space areas, installing trail directional signage at trailheads and intersections, investing in equipment, staff, resources, and maintenance practices to improve irrigation system efficiencies, developing walking loops with non-slip surfaces and providing seating and shade. Shade's always a topic. Plan to accommodate the growing demand for pickleball and or supporting pickleball facilities, accommodate the demand for additional cricket pitches or supporting facilities, make Crow Canyon Garden enhancements, including parking, restrooms, improved creek access, safety and lighting, nature-based play, self-guided interpretive signage, increasing the number of rentable garden plots, and renovation of the demonstration gardens. So at this point, staff is looking for feedback and some prioritization on the 9 recommendations, as well as any other items that may be noted as a lower priority in later years that you feel really should be considered for the 21-22 CIP. Now, it also has to be said that although all of the items in the master plan are important and should be completed at some point, there is limited funding and staff resources. So it is important to identify which projects should be looked at as a higher priority. It also has to be noted that currently in the CIP, there are several project elements that are listed in the master plan. However, I have not included them in that list as they've already have their funding identified. So for example, the 2.6 million for the San Ramon Olympic Pool, the renovation of the Doherty Station Community Center, and the ones we just completed of the San Ramon Community Center and the El Costa Senior and Community Centers, all of which are actually listed as options and the things that need to be done in the master plan, but they really have already been completed and were in the existing CIP. So once the commission has established which projects they really feel are a higher priority, staff will do some research on the projects and provide the information gathered to the Public Works Department for further internal discussions as it relates to the preparation of the CIP. So I'm not looking for a decision tonight, but rather I'm looking for some feedback on your preferences so that staff can focus their time and effort on those items that you think are most important for consideration in the next fiscal year. It should also be noted that all projects require a funding source. And once I better understand your preferences, then staff can look into all potential options for funding for the projects that you think are most important this year. With that, let me open it up to Chair Burrows.
Thank you, Kathy. Madam Clerk, anybody for public comment?
No, we do not.
Thank you. So I'll go ahead, close the public comment and open questions to Kathy. So I see Commissioner Birnbaum.
Well, first of all, Kathy, thank you for bringing this forward. I know I've been a pain in the backside with you asking about this, but I really believe that it's important that we get started on this, and thank you for bringing it to the commission as a whole. I think that, you know, as you said, there are a lot of very important projects here, and I don't think that we can take them all on this coming year, as you had already said. Some of them require partnership. For example, the first two are really relate to activities on the Iron Horse Trail, and we really don't control that aspect of the park system, and that's really part of East Bay Regional Parks. So I would suggest that we look at how do we form a group or a meeting or somehow getting together with East Bay Regional Parks and talk to them about it and understand what options we have, because this has been something that's been talked about for years. We really need to kind of understand what the limitations would be before we could really put together anything. So I would suggest on those two items that we do an investigation and do some research with East Bay Regional Parks. I also think that we need to get started on the overall trail system within the city. We heard from the public that trails and interconnectivity is really important. I looked at your item number 4, installing trail direction signage. That could be a good starting point. It could be something that we could do. It's actually a project that probably is a more manageable one than some of the other ones. So that might be a good start so that we can show the community that we're making progress. I also looked at project number 32, developing walking loops. We need to identify where we would want to do that. So there needs to be some kind of investigation. Maybe we can identify one park where we can do that. Again, showing that we're making progress, not trying to take on too many things at one time, but actually doing something and getting something started. And then the final one that I would comment on is really the Crow Canyon Gardens. I think we need to see what comes out of the Facilities Committee recommendations. I would imagine what we'll need out of that is funding for hiring somebody to help do the professional landscape architecture on the redesign. So I would say that, having money for that in the budget this coming year would be an important way to get started. So those are just some of my thoughts about what the projects would be and how to kind of prioritize it.
Thank you. Vice Chair Lopez Lucy.
I would have to agree with Commissioner Beerbaum on what he has said, because I think it is so important that we want people out using the parks and the trails and everything. And so I think, and I walk all the time myself, you're always looking for other things, and these things would be to start with, because a lot of these are so expensive. And my question was about, do we have even do you have any idea of how much money that there would be to do some of these things for the upcoming CIP recommendations? Do you have any idea of how much money we would have to work with?
No, I really don't. I mean, probably the rule of thumb is generally the money is all spent trying to maintain some of our existing infrastructure. But that is the primary reason I want to know what you think is the most important, because then I can go and see what I can leverage, what we can figure out to do. There's options out there for all kinds of different projects. It's just a matter of time, money, and resources. And so really at this point, I don't. That's why we'd like to do some research into the ones that are most important.
Well, the other thing, when we say invest in equipment, staff resources, and maintenance practice to improve the irrigation system, that's sort of ongoing. And for park and recreation, I would say that, in my estimation, that would be one that would not be high on the priority because it's ongoing. I know it's very important, but still, it doesn't show that we're really getting to what the people in the community wanted in their surveys that we had and everything. So I know that the cricket pitch and the pickleball are important, but I think if we start with the trail system and you know, the loops and those types of things, they kind of all go together, and I would think it would show that something that we could start with and show that, as we said, as Mr. Bayram said, that those would be good to start with. And then we would know more about, after we have a facilities meeting on the Crow Canyon, what cost and everything that would be. So those things would be also things that would be a good starting point for us to start with.
Commissioner Roberts?
Thank you, Chair Veros. I will just mention, so Kathy, I have a question. So in looking at all of these, which are obviously great for our community, number 13 to me is what stuck out. Now I understand that it looks like it's accounted for, right? That this so 13 1.2 B-1, right? Connect neighborhoods to parks and parks to parks, right? Via trails and walkways. Sounds like that's really accounted for, but in my opinion, this is probably one of the most important ones in this entire list, because I think that it's tangible, and that it really does sort of, it captures all 4 guiding principles of that master plan update, right? In terms of capturing that interconnectedness, the conservation of connection to nature, inclusive and balanced quality and quantity. I think that number 13 truly does that. Now, if that's accounted for, we're not really worrying about that right now, or if that's not in line, I would have to agree with my colleagues here on number 32, which I believe that is the develop walking loops with non-slip surfaces and provide seating and shade. So, that sort of is also in line. It's tangible. It's what I think we heard a lot of, and it's something that I think the community will see as something that we're actually moving forward. Like I said, it's something that's tangible, something that I think is also inclusive, and something that is going to allow more people to see and utilize, as soon as possible. So again, if 13 is sort of spoken for, 32, just like my colleagues mentioned, I would also say that would be a priority for us. So thanks.
Commissioner Osland?
Can I throw one thing in just to do? The only reason I didn't put 13 on the list is because it was listed originally as a more medium priority.
I saw, yeah, okay.
But you're right. That's what I wanted to know. Is there anything else here that you kind of think belongs higher? And so,
well, 13 to me, so I saw that it said medium, and I thought, I really see that. To me, I see that as a high priority, because again, if you look at everything on this list, number 13 absolutely captures all 4 guiding principles of what we have done. And you really can't argue that it doesn't, right? And you can make a case for all 4 guiding principles fitting into number 13 in a really strong way. And so, I think it's really, if you think about it, it's really what we're talking about. It's what we're talking about in terms of connecting this community. And again, you can make a case for all 4 guiding principles. So in that number 13. That would be my take. But if not, 32 would also be a part of that, and also very important. I would almost switch the 2 if it were me.
Okay, Commissioner Osland?
Well, I really like what you guys selected here, and I see that we've really, you guys were very thoughtful with using all the 4 themes too, and I liked that. I agree with Commissioner Birnbaum about the Iron Horse Trail, the 1 and 2, because that's going to take some partnership and some conversations and things. So it's going to take some time. I agree with Scott too. I hadn't thought about that, Scott, until you brought that up, that 13 does kind of tie things together. I think my only comment was the basketball courts, because that was a high priority. And I'm just curious why that didn't make the list. Because I know there's a contingency of basketball players that feel they don't have their court anymore. So just curious about that.
Absolutely. And I would be curious too, but I do know that we have a lit basketball coming in the second phase of Rancho Amador Park and a lit basketball court in the new Faria Park. So
Awesome.
in light of the two parks that should come on within the next couple of years with the lit courts, it didn't seem like that would be a project we maybe needed to take on first. Could be, but that was why I removed it from the list.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. I don't have any other comments.
Commissioner Kinnison Lee.
Thank you. So I haven't had this opportunity with you all to say, because I left right before you guys dug deep into the master plan. And of course, when I was considering coming back, I read through the entire master plan. You guys did a great job. I was really impressed with the work. So I'm sorry I wasn't there to be a part of it, but I am really impressed with what you guys did. And revisiting some of the priorities, I think, you know, where my energy is of course, getting folks, anything that gets us to get folks outside, you know, achieving our desire to have a walkable community. Those are really important. The ones that I gravitate toward also, and I did like what Commissioner Birnbaum said about, you know, pulling some folks together to discuss the Iron Horse Trail and how we, as you were saying, Commissioner Osland, you know, leverage those, we know there are different jurisdictions involved there, but I like the idea of getting that train rolling with pulling folks together. So I do like that, but getting seniors outside and making our offerings approachable and usable by seniors is really important, particularly as we want to make our community where it's a community where people can age in place. So that would certainly bump some choices up for me in terms of priority. I think anytime you're looking at prioritizing budget items for parks, you want to look at a blend of Commissioner, or actually Vice Chair Carol Lopez Lucy's point. You know, you want that blend between direct resident usage and benefit, as well as process improvement and cost effectiveness. So honestly, I was a little drawn to the irrigation improvement because I feel like, you know, and we'll get to my report later about the city council, but heavy on some folks' minds is this idea of good water conservation. And so I was a little bit drawn to that one, not necessarily as the top priority, because I do agree with my colleagues that the connectivity issue and making our park spaces and our open spaces and our trails usable for folks and connecting people in that way is important. But I think we also don't want to neglect areas where we can make process and system improvements that save us some money, because we know money will continue to be tight. So I think that needs to stay on our radar screen. So the cost savings is always important to me as well. And then of course, safety is always an overriding thing, but I can see why you all are drawn to 32. I think that's important. You know, I think the Iron Horse Trail is such a jewel for us and is such a common denominator, a way to get folks of all ages out and walking and connecting, that you know, I'm excited about that, but perhaps it's a little bit of a cart before the horse situation, as Commissioner Birnbaum was sort of suggesting. And so those were just some of my thoughts that help me prioritize where I'd like to see funding go, but getting folks outside, getting them connected and walking, getting our seniors out there, those would be important things to me.
Commissioner Ramesh, Student Commissioner Ramesh.
Thank you. Something that I felt goes hand in hand with number 32 was number 4, which was about the directional signage. Like from my personal experience, some of the trails have been sort of hard to navigate, especially at places where they branch off. And I don't really know if I'm going into like private property or the actual trail. So I think, especially with, I know, easy to hike, going out of business, and if we want to make people use screen time less, especially when they're outside, it would be very helpful if there was more signage. And I feel like that would go hand in hand with increasing the amount of loops that exist.
Thank you. Thanks all commissioners for your excellent feedback. So from what I'm looking here is, like, especially number 1 and 2, as Commissioner Birnbaum mentioned, that we need to work with other stakeholders. like East Bay Parks, as well as we may need to even work with our county as well as Bishop Ranch to see how we can develop and improve the opportunities. So Kathy, I have one question regarding this 32. Develop walking loops with non-slip surfaces and provide seating and shade. Are we talking about like our parks, or is it once again going back to trails and open spaces?
Well, they're both in there. I think when you look at that particular one, the develop walking loops with non-slip surfaces, those are aimed at parks. So if that's something that the commission decides we kind of want to look at, then what we will do to research it is we'll take a look at our parks and look at which ones might be easiest to add a walking loop into. Some may already have sections that already have the path, and we just need to close the loop by putting a paved area across, which would be a lower cost point. We might look at parks that we know we have a lot of walkers in anyway. And so that would be how we would frame and try and figure out whether or not we could achieve it based on the collection. If you're not really interested in that, you're more interested in the loops in open space, then conversely, I'll take that same amount of staff time and we'll go, okay, let's figure out where we've got an almost loop and how do we close it. So it's really about not spinning our staff time wheels trying to do 9 things, but narrow it down to a few, 2 or 3 that we can then kind of grab onto, do some research and figure out what is feasible and what is not.
Thank you. So because the reason why I'm asking is I do get a very regular request regarding the shades and seating within the parks from the seniors. So there's a lot of multi-generational population within our San Ramon, and they are like, especially in the summer, it gets very hot. And they are looking for a seat and a place where they can sit in a shade. So definitely that's definitely one of my priority. And then goes the trail directional signage and trailheads. I agree with our student commissioner that we do want, we definitely want to have those directions, so that right now that is our high used trails are pretty heavily used at this point of time. And one more thing is about, I would definitely like to look into youth sports and diversity inclusion. See, that's one of the important thing that came up within our whole master plan update, that we want to see how we can deliver to our youth sports with diversity inclusion. So that's where pickleball and cricket pitch definitely is going to be like my priority, because they've been waiting for years and the youth sports are getting hurt because they don't have right facilities. And they end up traveling like all the way to South Bay to play their sports. So I would definitely like to see that we prioritize a cricket pitch for our youth programs. Like we have close to 200 youth right now playing, and also we already produce like national players, and we are going to continue to provide or create more youth players. So we need to, I think we need to start balancing out on how we are going to deliver this, rather than focusing on a certain population, but we need to look at all these different diverse inclusion programs. And once again, with the Crow Canyon Gardens, I want to see how our facilities meeting goes with the nature park and all that agreements, then we can look into that. So yeah, those are my priorities. Oh, I see some more hands raised here on this. Commissioner Bonbon.
First of all, I think, you know, as we look at trail loops and item number 32, I believe that really needs to focus on something within either our parks or our downtown area. Eventually, we need to get to that on the open space areas. But quite frankly, I think it's important that we deliver to the community something that's very tangible that they can look at, and we can say, we heard you, we supported it, we prioritized it, and we funded it, so that they can see that the 10-year plan is actually working. So I would highly recommend, Kathy, that if you had to take your efforts of deciding, where do you build trail loops in the open space, or where do you build trail loops that, you know, within the park system, I would focus on within the park system. And I would probably look at the downtown area because that is a high priority both for the community, but it's also a high priority for the city council. And we're going to need to get funding. And, you know, having projects that they have high support for is going to be a lot easier to get the money than other projects.
Commissioner Dolrick.
Thank you. Kathy, if you could refresh, and I know it was probably longer ago than I remember, but we did have those 4 or 5 areas along the Iron Horse Trail that were approved at the Crow Canyon, at Al Costa, by Cal High, etc. What was the process and where did the funding come for those 4 or 5 locations?
Well, I was not involved completely in it. I have the outside, definitely something we can research more about. But from what I recall, those nodes were funded by the Rotary clubs as well as APAPA, the Asian Pacific Islander group. And they each funded a node, and each of them is a shade structure and a bench. So I know it was a collaboration really with East Bay Regional Parks, the city, and the individual clubs. I'd have to really dig back in to see how they got to that final agreement.
Okay, so it was more private funding than city funding.
I believe so, but again, I was not a part of that at the time, so I'd really have to double check.
Yeah, and it, you know, like I said, it was probably longer ago than I remember that we had put those in there. So yeah, anything that provides connectivity and allows social distancing activities outside is going to be something that should be emphasized within the next, you know, 12 to 18 months.
Commissioner Kenny Stanley.
Yeah, just to follow up on 32. Ultimately, I think it's great that Kathy and team are going into this ahead of the time, sort of coming up with a plan, knowing firmly what our priorities are so that they're fully invested in the process. Excuse the dog again. But with number 32, Kathy, you could sort of parcel it out a bit, I imagine, right? Not knowing how much money might be available in this process because you've got different departments with competing needs. You could figure out whether the commission's priority is to provide the seating and shade, if in fact you had to separate them out and couldn't do all of them, or if the priorities get the non-slip surface. So it's not like all or nothing, right? It could be that we maybe, given how the budgeting process goes, we have to pick and choose even within that one category. Is that true?
Yeah, it also depends, because we may be able to, depending on whatever the project is, we might be able to find a funding partner to help us. So for example, the Story Walk was really funded by the Rotary, and as well as this partnership with the county library. It took quite a partnership. A lot of the projects that go on at Forest Home Farms are really partnered with the Historic Foundation in order to make those projects happen. And so really, if we say, okay, we really want to focus on a walking loop, I find a park that I can find a partner for because they really like that idea, then that may move that park and that idea up higher on the list because I can figure out how to fund it. And so, and it was a long answer to what you're asking, but yes, we could parse it out. Right now, there is the shade structure CIP. I don't believe there's funding in it at this point in time, but that could be something we could advocate for, more shade structures that are separate from having to be attached to the walking loop and the seating. You're muted.
Kathy, you're.
Oh yeah, okay. So the other thing is I just wanted to echo what Commissioner Birnbaum was saying about staying, devoting staff time to the parks within the city, and that looking at something within, the downtown area or what have you. I feel like that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
So Kathy, one more thing, you brought up very important and very critical information about partnering. And I think in these priorities, as well as for funding purpose, we should be even looking at working with our field users. If they can help us, if they can chip in, then definitely we can increase the priority also. So I would highly recommend that we work with our field users on that. Thank you.
So if I might,
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
So if I might just surmise what I think I heard in general, in very general terms, I believe that everybody is more or less interested in the walkability connection features, the walking loops in parks in general, possibly the trail signage in open space, because again, it's about walking and connectivity. And also if an opportunity arises for a partnership, that we not miss it, but maybe jump on it. So to your point, Sridhar, about the field users.
That's right.
I was trying to take note quickly.
Yep.
Yes?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Perfect. Nodding. All right. Thank you so much. That will really help us as we proceed forward, because it helps narrow my field a little bit to what I can have staff start on working on and doing some research on. And so then we'll be back after a while once we figure out which direction we want to head. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, let's proceed. Item number 9, staff reports. 9.1, recreation program and community services report.
So does anybody have any questions about the rec report that I can answer for you today? I think Heidi, Commissioner Kinnison-Lee, you're muted though.
Oh, yeah.
I was just waiting to be called on.
Sorry.
Am I good to go?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
please.
okay. So a couple of things. We're on 9.1, correct? So I have 3
That's right.
things. I was just curious if you guys could give us a little blip on how do you guys keep lap swim safe? Because we know that's been such a popular and increasingly participated in activity. What has been key to keeping that safe?
Well, it's again, it's a numbers game and a space game. So there's only one person in each lane. When they enter the pool, they enter one way and they exit another way. So you never have a crisscross with people walking back and forth. And they are signing up via an online service to reserve their spot and their space. And it's all very spread out. And so the good news about being in the water is that the chlorine does not move the COVID. So once you're in the water, you're often swimming, you're far enough apart separately, then it works just fine. We're not encouraging anyone to hang out and loiter on the decks. They're not allowed to go into the locker rooms and use the showers. It's kind of an enter, swim, and go. But it's been like rock star tickets for the staff. You know, every time they release the lap swim, it's been insane, the number of people who sign in the first 15 minutes to get their spaces. And interestingly enough, it's been primarily residents because we gave them priority. So the people who are getting frustrated are the non-residents who feel that they should be given priority as well. But our staff have held their line and said, nope, San Ramon residents get priority for these lap swims. So,
okay,
very popular.
Great. And then the second thing I was going to ask about with regard to senior services and, you know, our distribution of food items and paper goods and so forth. I know I checked on the website and there's a nice big section on there about donations and stuff. How are we faring with donations? Do we have an excess? Do we need more? Do we need to find new ways to promote the need for those donations? How are we standing there?
We've actually done just fine. You know, the majority of the people that we're getting for donations aren't looking for food as much. I mean, if we get the request for food, we have some. We definitely have a supply, but it's not necessarily the food that they want. So they actually are being served better by heading to the 2 food pantries that are in town, the Presbyterian Church, and then at the Islamic Temple, I believe, or that was across from the old City Hall. So those 2 food areas have been managing that. The primary requests are coming in for still paper products, masks, bleach wipes, those kinds of things. And so far staff has been able to fill all the requests. When we get something, request for something we don't have, we put the call back out to the volunteers and it's like magic, it appears.
That's awesome. And I had sort of alluded to this earlier, just having read through all of your adaptive programs, I wanted to again congratulate you. You know, I was keying in on the dance camps and how instead of ending with the live performance, you guys kind of did a culmination of a video montage. And I love that. I mean, that's awesome that you guys are able to adapt and still retain the value of the program. So that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. I go on adapting the way we, Kathy and your team adapted for whole this pandemic and providing excellent services. This is definitely a very commendable job. Thank you very much. Okay, with that, going to item 9.2, maintenance and operations report.
Does anybody have any questions? I can see Scott Renix and Brent Scroggs are both here if you have a question for them.
Oh,
Okay, I don't see any hands on there. Oh, okay. I see. Okay. Vice Chair Lopez, Lucy, please go ahead.
I do have a question, and it's not particularly in this, but at the corner of Bollinger and Alcosta, what is going to be the progress there of that's been under construction for 2 or more years, and I just don't see any movement going on. I mean, I know that's not here, but do you have any knowledge of that?
I have the basic knowledge that they're, that they've taken that fountain out and that they're landscaping it. I do not know if there is more information. Christy, can you promote one of them? Oh, there we go. Someone is appearing.
Brett.
I actually think the main reason we can't see any progress is because of all the campaign signs.
That's true.
Those
Which
darn
actually
signs.
Which
Those
actually
darn
belong
signs.
which actually belong on private property and not public space. But perhaps we won't pursue that at this meeting.
Okay, so I don't see any more hands raised there. So one thing, Kathy, I would definitely like to say thank you very much for the story walk installation and update. I already started receiving a lot of positive feedback from the community. Excellent work. I really appreciate on that update.
Brent popped on to answer Carol's question, if you would like that question answered.
No, yeah, I actually got thrown on there. So, but I don't have a lot other than what you touched on, Kathy, is that area has been under construction for quite a while. Scott would probably be more of a help on that. It's not a park, so unfortunately I don't have a lot of information on that one, but we can find out for you for sure.
That'd be nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I thought Commissioner Dolrick already provided the answer for that question. That's why I skipped. Sorry for that. Okay, thank you. With that, we are going to item 10, update on City Council reports.
Okay. For Kathy or for me? Is that a liaison report, Kathy, or you go?
Nope, that's you.
Okay, good. Okay. I didn't want to step on any toes. Okay, so I've been to 2 city council meetings since joining the commission. The one on August 25th, and I'm going to only mention the highlights, not all the minutia, but it was interesting in this one to pass along some public comment. There was a Doherty Valley High School student who brought before the council a concern about gasoline powered lawn tools and gardening tools, and she was advocating a ban on gas lawn tools and advocating for electrical and zero emissions alternatives. Just thought I'd throw that out there. There was also recognition of August 2020 being the American Muslim Appreciation and Awareness Month. And then our very own celebrity, Vice Chair Carol Lopez Lucy, accepted a proclamation recognizing the 100th anniversary of the women's right to vote, receiving the right to vote. And that was neat, a very important landmark. And then, of course, the City Council did talk about the mathematics, the Russian School of Mathematics, and they did adopt the resolution to uphold Planning Commission's resolution approving the Russian School of Mathematics land use permit. So that occurred, and that was that. And then we go to, excuse me while I cheat and use my notes here. The meeting last night was an interesting meeting. They handled some housing advisory committee appointments. an appointment to Open Space Advisory Committee. There was a traffic school bus program update received, but the bulk of the meeting was dealing with City Walk. And the long and the short of it, after much discussion, was that they did adopt a resolution denying the appeal. As you know, there was an appeal filed, and there's stuff online if you want to look at all the basis for the appeal. But the resolution was adopted denying the appeal and upholding and recertifying the final environmental impact report for the proposed City Walk project. And then also they adopted a second resolution denying the appeal and upholding the Planning Commission's approval of the City Walk Master Plan. So that was that. Those were the biggies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we are going to item number 11, committee reports. We'll start with, I'll just walk through with this sequence in my list. Commissioner Roberts.
So it looks like the Senior Advisory Committee was canceled for this month. And so our next meeting will be in October. But I do have some exciting news for the next meeting. I was able to, I started working with a local group here in San Ramon who is providing face shields, and we immediately got them connected, or I connected them to Kathy, and Kathy put them right in touch with our senior population, and I believe 200 masks got delivered today. So this is exciting news. I'm really happy about this, and with the flu season coming, right, and COVID, you add that in there, and with everyone, with a lot of different services going in and out of these seniors' homes this winter, I think this will come in very well. So we'll see. Again, I think 200 got deployed today, and more to come. And I think so they've agreed. I've invited them to come. I talked to Steve Cox, and they're going to come and talk on our next Senior Advisory Committee call coming up in October. And they're very excited about that. Just to kind of get the awareness out, it's Team 4C, Team 4C, and they are on Facebook. And I'm going to do some more promotion about it. And we'll have more to say next time.
Commissioner Birnbaum.
Well, the Open Space Committee hasn't met since our last Parks Commission meeting, so I have nothing to report. We meet next Monday.
Commissioner Rosland.
Well, I am on the new teen council, and I have not had the opportunity to attend a meeting yet. Our next meeting is scheduled for September 15th, and I'm really looking forward to participating in that. So I'm going to acquiesce to our student commissioner, Ramesh, to fill us in on what transpired in August. That's all I have.
Vice Chair Lopez Lucy.
Well, I apologize. I could not attend today's EDAC meeting because I was en route coming home from San Francisco. So I did text them and tell them what we were going to do tonight for my share to give to them. So I can't give any highlights there. And I'm frantically looking for my notes from the Planning Commission because they did vote on, and I'm trying to think in my mind, it was a discussion on, and I'm just drawing a blank now, so I can't report. I'm sorry. I'll have to wait and report at the next one. I'm sorry, but I can't remember and I can't find my notes.
No worries. No worries.
Sorry.
No worries. Thank you. Commissioner Dolrick.
Thank you, Chair Veros. The Arts Advisory Committee meeting for August had two main topics. One was a presentation by Brad Morris of the Cultural Growth Fund Expenditure Report, taking a look at the organizations that have used it from a presentation standpoint, and then also taking a look at the equipment that has been purchased and is scheduled to be purchased. And then, of course, with the lower use of the facilities, and the lack of any kind of presentations, performances, etc., with audiences, There is probably going to be a downturn as far as the amount of funds that are available. Right now, the current Cultural Growth Fund balance is $24,401 with $15,500 already approved for the upcoming 2020-2021 projects. So as events come online, as events become available to be presented, or we look at alternative ways to perhaps have a fee-based online, presentations, the Cultural Growth Fund will stay there where it is. So that was one. The second, talking about the library, was the second topic of full discussion was the library public art project. So the RFQ has gone out for a response for the public art at the library. The RFQ is going out now. In November, the applicants will be reviewed and we'll start the interviews. And in December of 2020, the artists will be selected. And then throughout 2021, it will actually come to us in January. And once selected and approved, then we will be looking at, moving forward through 2021 with the project as the artist is selected. So that's pretty exciting because that's a once every other year event, especially for a project of this size and visibility within the community. And that concludes my report with the Arts Advisory Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kenny Stanley, I know you already gave a City Council update. Do you have any other committee updates?
Nope.
Just want to make sure. Okay, with that, Student Commissioner Amrita Ramesh, please go ahead.
Thank you. As Commissioner Osmond said, we haven't had a meeting for Teen Council since the August Parks meeting, so I have no report.
Thank you. With that, we are going to item number 12, Commission member items. Okay, I see Vice Chair Lopez Lucy, please go ahead.
I'm sorry, my brain finally went into action. And the Planning Commission, what they approved was the fire department and the police department, as you know, is becoming together in the one building that we now have that has planning and police, because planning is moving to City Hall. So they are restructuring that, plus the fact that then they voted on to accept the new building that will go alongside there. And that will be a dispatch center. And they were going through all kinds of what's in it and the dimensions and everything, but they accepted the final plan and proceeding with the new building out there, which will strictly be fire and police. And so then the dispatch center will only be, no one will go there for the public. So that will be strictly, and it'll be 911, which will be directly there and they can do more things. And so it's a really good plan, I think. And so their planning acceptance will now go to City Council. So then Heidi will be hearing that in the next couple of meetings to see what that goes on. And so that was when I finally thought of it. It was because it's the emergency operating center is what it will be called. But I did have a question when they did that. They said that they won't have public going out there. And I was thinking, where will you be able still to go there? I guess this is something I'll have to them, because that's where you go for ABC requests, for police to sign and everything. So I'm certain that part of that building will still be public, that you can go in for police services there, because they won't be moving that to City Hall. So, but I think it was a really good plan, but there was a lot of discussion on how much room was going to be for this, and they wanted an exercise room, a gym for them and all that. So that was, the resolution got accepted. So it was very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, I'll switch once again to Commissioner, item number 12, Commission member items. Anybody? Okay, I have one request. So as you know that next 2 months I'll be pretty busy due to my personal commitments. So I'm looking for help, especially like because it will be quite tough for me to focus and engage in upcoming multiple facilities committee meetings. So it will be great help if someone like can swap my facilities committee position for the next 2 months. That will be a great help for me. Okay. Oh, I see Commissioner Birnbaum, your hand.
Yeah, Commissioner Veros, I would be happy to fill in for you on the facilities subcommittee for the 2 months that you're going to be occupied with a very important activity.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate for helping me with that.
Do you need help with the library? Do you want someone
I'm
to,
okay with the library actually.
you want to do the library?
Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Commissioner Osline for offer. Appreciate it. Okay. Anything else before we adjourn? Okay. Thanks for all your time and adjourning the meeting at 8:47. Have a wonderful week. Remaining night.
Stay safe, stay healthy.
Everyone.
Bye.
Good meeting.